Good evening, Fernwood. It is your contextualizing crony Neil, and it's time for us to put it together with another episode of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. Today we are watching episode 179 from December 9th, 1976. We had a big episode yesterday, so let us talk about it. Mary got a visit from Tippy Toes, who did her best to comfort Mary and try to explain her point of view, and especially that Tippy Toes Annie had no romantic or sexual intentions toward Mary. Annie explains a bit of her perspective as a bisexual woman, and Mary comes to her senses. She realizes that she has been treating Annie horribly, at which point Mary chooses to snuggle with her just to comfort her as Tom walks in. When he sees that, he leaves in a jealous huff. After the commercial break, Mary is still in bed with her Reader's Digest. She turns out the lights right before Tom walks in, and Tom wants to prove himself a man. In this case, proving himself a man is to get Mary to have sex whether she wants it or not. They have a really terrifying exchange, though it is clarified that it wasn't considered rape when a man forced his wife to have sex. And it's not like there's not laughter between them, not like there's not soft moments between them, but it comes to it, and Mary pushes him away, and he still comes back. She remembers something that her father taught her, and knees Tom in the groin. And since watching this episode, everyone, I've done some reading to give me some context on what was going on, and I'll share some thoughts with you after we watch this episode, okay? Let's not talk about it now, but after our next commercial break, we come to the funeral home where Grandpa Larkin is dusting some caskets, and he is met by Mrs. DeLorean, who we might have seen at the Fernwood Library or at the Bide-A-Wee Motel, and this is another one of her part-time jobs that she uses to survive, and they get to know each other and understand each other's point of view just a little bit. And Grandpa enjoys a peanut butter sandwich that he had hidden the ingredients for in a casket. Later, Annie interrupts Tom as he is walking by her trailer to engage him on some of the things that were happening. They have a conversation about queerness, and Tom says that he can accept that people can be gay, but he still has some issues with the image of two men kissing. Annie shares her point of view as a more pansexual person, but Tom still ends up leaving in disgust. Then we cut over to the Adamses, where Kathy is practicing her breathing exercises. Brian approaches and, since he's the coach, figures that he should be helping her practice. But in the midst of the practicing, Brian realizes what a lovely woman is in front of him and goes down to kiss her. They make out for a second, and in walks Christine, who clearly has a Christine-style jealous reaction, and leaves the two to consider what they have done. Okay, everyone, that was a really tough episode to watch yesterday, so we will talk about it afterward, but in the meantime, let's check out Thursday.
Mary Hartman! Mary Hartman!
Mary? Are you ready?
It's just a few more minutes, Tom.
Yeah, it's really exciting, Mary. Mr. Donnelly must have reminded me 3 times last week. Don't forget lunch at the club on Wednesday. You know, I can't wait for you to meet him and his wife. And they can't wait to meet you.
They can't?
No, they can't. You know, I always read that keeping up with the Joneses is social climbing, but when you are the Joneses and other people are trying to keep up with you, I mean, that is really invigorating. Ho, ho, ho. Hey, sweetheart?
What?
You need some help?
No.
Well, honey, can you hurry it up a little bit? I don't want to be late, okay? Hurry it up. Come on, come on, come on.
Okay,
Come on.
Okay. I'm ready.
What's the matter?
Oh, well, nothing. It's just that, honey, we're having lunch at the club. I thought at least you'd get dressed up.
But, Tom, this is my best afternoon dress. I wore it to Loretta's recording session, all the good funerals. Unless, of course, you'd like me to wear an evening gown, which isn't too different, except it's a nightgown. Joke, Tom, little joke, not funny.
Yeah, it's okay, it's good. Okay, fine.
Wait a minute.
Come on, let's go, come on.
No, wait a minute. I feel like I'm embarrassing you. These are my regular clothes, and suddenly they feel funny.
I love them. Let's go.
Tom, wait a minute. Are you upset with me because of last night?
Mary, this has nothing to do with last night.
Well, good, because it wasn't my fault about last night.
Mary, I don't want to discuss last night. We are talking about how you're dressed.
Tom, I love you very much.
Look, I don't know a lot about women's clothes, Mary. I don't know a lot about it. But at the country club, they're always using the word chic. They're throwing that word around,
You don't think I'm chic?
I didn't say that. It's just that the wives of prosperous businessmen are supposed to look, chic.
Okay, Tom, I know what to do. I read in Cosmopolitan, which is a very chic magazine, on how to do a very quick pick-me-up
No,
on a
Mary,
tired
looks
dress.
fine, looks fine, it's fine, come on.
Or a shawl, Tom. I could wear a shawl that Ma gave me. Mrs. Donnelly loved
Mary,
lace.
it looks fine, come on, forget it, won't make any difference. Come on, let's go.
Tom!
Come on, are you coming or not, Mary? Come on.
You're ashamed of me, aren't you?
Mary, look, I love you.
Well, I love you, Tom, and I'm sorry. I've just never been to a country club luncheon before. And I'm sorry if you don't think that my clothes are right. You always liked them before.
Mary, come on, will you? It doesn't make any difference. We're going to be late.
Tom, do you think you'll ever wear your baseball cap and jacket again?
I don't know. I really don't know. Hey, look, I don't have time to think about stuff like that. I don't have time.
I'm worried.
Why?
I'm not sure I think about you.
About me? About me? Mary, I'm moving up in the world, Mary. I got a lot of self-confidence now. I'm a new man. I'm a new person.
I'm not.
That's the problem, Mary. That is the problem. You have got to change.
Why? Tom, you see, I'm just not sure that I think that this pretending thing is right.
Mary, we are not pretending. We are growing.
Are we? Maybe too much coffee stunted my growth.
Now, look, Mary, we are moving into a new financial bracket, and you got to try to keep up. Now, I'm finding a new me, and you got to try to find a new you. That's very important for us now, Mary. Now, let's go.
But what about my dress now?
It looks fine. It looks fine for now. Look, Mrs. Donnelly, she always shops at Tufts and Tweeds,
Yeah.
Now, why don't you try shopping there sometime, too?
Do we have time?
There's no time, Mary. There's no time.
But do I look okay?
You look ravishing.
Do I really?
You really look ravishing, Mary. You look ravishing.
Okay, Tom, okay. I'm gonna go to the luncheon. It's gonna be fine. I'm gonna go to the luncheon, and I'm gonna be witty, and I'm gonna be bubbly, and I'm just gonna be a new me. I'm gonna really try for you. I promise I'm really gonna be trying. I am gonna be so terrific that Mrs. Donnelly probably won't even notice the dress or anything like that. See, all I had to do was know what the problem was. Now you just leave it up to me, okay? In fact, Tom, I have some fascinating new conversation pieces. I read another article in Cosmopolitan about the wives of rising businessmen, just like Mrs. Donnelly, and about their empty existences and how barren their lives are. With the 5 martinis in the afternoon and the bridge at night. Now, I know that Mrs. Donnelly would be interested in something like that.
Mary, I don't think you should mention that particular article about barren wives and barren existences. Just forget about it.
Forget
okay?
that?
Yeah, forget that. Is there any other article in Cosmopolitan you've read that you could talk about? Huh?
Skateboards.
Skateboards. That's it. Talk about that.
Or pesticides, Tom. We could talk about pesticides. In fact, you know what we can do? We can do both. We can talk about skateboards and pesticides.
Mary, on second thought, let me do all the talking. All the talking.
Clauses have run into the holly wreaths and the Christmas tree. Why, that doesn't look like anything. I think I have just baked the world's largest Christmas cookie.
Merry Christmas, Ma.
Oh, what a nice surprise. Merry Christmas to you, too. Oh, both of you. Oh, sit down. You must be very tired carrying all those Christmas gifts. Who are they for?
Oh, well, I have one here for Heather, and one for Tom, and one for Grandpa, and one for Mary.
Is that all?
Oh, no, here's one to Mother from Santa Claus.
Oh, Kathy, you shouldn't waste your money on me. What's in it?
It also says do not open until Christmas.
Oh, so tell me everything that's happened.
So what is that supposed to be?
That is supposed to be 24 Christmas cookies. I think I'll make 3 more and have them as a set of placemats.
Oh, Mom, you haven't changed a bit.
Oh, well, what did you expect? You haven't been gone that long. So now, tell me, do you like living at the Adams' house?
It is so beautiful, and everything is so fancy. They do things like chill their martini glasses and dress for dinner.
You know, I never understood what people meant when they said they were going to dress for dinner. What do? Eat lunch naked?
And it's a whole different life. And guess what? I have my own bathroom, a bathroom no one else uses except me.
Oh, I've always wanted my own private bathroom. I don't suppose I'll ever have it now. I think I'll specify in my will to be laid away in a tub.
And Brian and Christine give me everything I want.
Isn't that just the way things are, though? You living in a mansion with rich people and your mother is a hooker. That could only happen in America.
What do you mean a hooker?
Well, with your daddy gone, we have to have a little money coming in, you know, with the way prices are today. We can't live on love.
So you're going to be a hooker?
Oh, just a pretend hooker. I won't do anything, really, you know. Just lead the men on and drive them out of their love-starved minds. And the police department is paying me good money to corrupt.
Mother, you don't have to do that. I'll have plenty of money for you to get by. Oh, God, I can just see my mother walking the streets pretending she's a hooker. You can get hurt or something.
Oh, thanks, Kathy, but I'd rather walk the streets than touch 1 penny of that money of yours.
What do you mean, Mom?
I can't help it, Kathy. I think that money is dirty money. It is sinful money.
What are you saying?
I never wanted to tell you what to do. I didn't want to interfere. I figured you should be able to live your own life. Oh, now what am I doing? I promised I would not say 1 word to you.
Mother, please stop crying and tell me what you're trying to say.
Oh, what you're doing is wrong, Kathy. Selling your baby is wrong. I think God is going to punish you. Oh, I swore up and down to myself that I would mind my own business and not say a word, but I can't help it, Kathy. That is my grandchild, and it is not fair that you are selling my grandchild.
Mother, please stop crying. It's hard enough to understand you when you just talk. Look, do you think it's easy for me to sell that baby without giving it a second thought? It's a part of me now. It's inside of me all safe and warm and curled up. I don't want to give away that baby.
Then why are you doing it?
For the future. What future would it have with me? What future would I have?
Oh, Kathy, we could manage. That baby wouldn't starve.
Aren't you tired of just managing? Aren't you tired of just getting by? Christine and Brian can give everything to this baby, everything it wants and needs, and I'll have $40,000.
$40,000?
Yeah, $20,000 for this baby and $20,000 for the baby that I'm going to have with Brian.
Well, why stop at 2? Why don't you have 10 babies and get yourself $200,000? That is the worst thing I ever heard of in my life.
Mother, it's just going to be 2 babies. And I'll only be pregnant 18 months, and I'll only be 24 by the time it's all over, and I can do anything I want. I can even open up my own beauty parlor if I want.
Oh, but Kathy, all your life, no matter how much money you have, no matter how many beauty parlors you own, you are going to be haunted by the memory of selling those little babies into tiny white slavery.
Mother, please don't make me feel worse than I already feel. I had to come home because I was so lonely. Brian and Christine went skiing in Aspen, and I just wanted to come home so bad. Please don't make me feel more guilty than I already do, please. And you must stop crying.
I know. My eyes will be all puffy and nobody will pick up a prostitute with puffy eyes.
Mother, I won't have you doing that. Don't you understand? I won't. I have $40,000.
Oh, Kathy, give that money up and let me have my grandchild.
No, I will not give up that money. That money is our life. What are we going to do without it? You see, I can't raise the baby like you raised me.
I don't think I've done such a bad job.
Oh, Mother. Mother, you didn't do a bad job. You were one of the best mothers in the whole world. And I love you. I love you so much. And I always will.
Oh, I love you too, Kathy. And I love that little baby you're carrying, even though we'll never be formally introduced.
No, you never will, Mom. But I have to do this. I have to do this for all of our sakes. I just have to, Ma. I really have to.
Jeez, what did you make for dinner last night?
Veal cutlets.
Veal cutlets. Every time I have veal cutlets the next morning, I'm not regular.
Is that why you're home?
Well, you know that's why I'm home, kiddo.
Sweetheart, you're going to have to learn to use another facility.
Boy, is that just like you. Always negative. I mean, here's a man who loves his home so much that he would rather not use a common public facility. Instead, he rushes back, and you have to make something vile out of it.
But to keep coming home no matter what time of day it is or whether you're in the
Hey,
middle.
I am comfortable here. Is that so terrible?
Well, it's just a wonder that you can maintain yourself so long.
I have got a constitution that maintains itself if I eat the right foods, which means, Pat, if you make me the right foods and you serve me the right foods, I can be up in the morning, 1 cup of coffee, and whammo! You can set your watch on my regularity, except for veal cutlets. And what are you doing anyway?
Nothing.
More sheets?
Why don't you go, honey, before you hurt yourself?
Hey, what are you doing with more of little Garth's sheets?
I was just taking them to be washed.
What is that? I said, what is that?
Garth, you have to use the facility.
I know I have to use the facility, but there's something wrong here. I want you to stay right there. Don't move. You gotta be right on that spot when I get back, Pat. You hear me? Hey, don't you ever clean this bathroom? I mean, there's dirty clothes and... Oh, no! Wet pajamas? My God, my son is a bedwetter. That's it, isn't it, Pat? That's why you've been washing those sheets and sneaking around. Why didn't you tell me?
I didn't think you'd understand.
Understand? What is there to understand? What do you think, I'm an idiot? A dummy? I'm not a dummy, Pat. I understand that my son, who is 14 years old, is a goddamn bedwetter. Jeez, I'll kill him.
Please don't be hard on him. He can't help it.
Of course he can help it. What do you think he's got muscles for? He does have muscles, doesn't he? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, why can't he control them?
The doctor said it was psychological.
Psychological? What do you mean, psychological?
The problem in his head.
Are you saying that my son is mentally disturbed, which translates physically and comes out wet?
It's a nervous reaction. He'll grow out of it.
Nervous? Why is he nervous? Me? Because of me? Or is it because of you? I mean, what am I a father for anyway? Why'd I bother to have a kid? Christ's sakes, I have to be the FBI around my own home. Nobody tells me anything. Everybody's against me. You've turned my own son against me. Tell me, Pat, did you make him turn into a bedwetter just to humiliate me?
No, Garth, no.
Well, it's working. I am humiliated. Make it stop, Patty. I'm going to give you 24 hours to take it back and make it untrue because I want you to know something. A man can just take so much and then he cracks, and I'm cracking, kiddo. Like Humpty Dumpty, I'm going to fall. And you don't even care.
I care.
Care? God, I wish you cared. All you do is you're a whiner and a bungler and a lousy mother.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. I know. I know you. You've made that boy into a mama's boy who can't even control his muscles long enough to last through one night. I have to last all day. My muscles have to be trained like an Olympic athlete's in order to survive in this stinking, filthy world that can't even build decent facilities.
Sweetheart, I am sure there are clean ones.
You're wrong. They're all full of germs.
I'm sorry.
Well, sorry just doesn't do it, kiddo. We're way beyond sorry now. God, it's a good thing I come home to check up on you in the middle of the day. I'm going to teach you to be a good wife if it kills me, which it might. But I want you to know something. I don't mind, because if it does, I'm taking you with me. You got it?
Got it. Charlie, come home, oh Charlie, come home and dance with your lonely prom queen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Macon and Richard. Oh, Detective Johnson, thank you so much for coming and listening to my personal heartfelt agonies.
My pleasure, Miss Haggers. That song is enough to make the heartstrings snap.
I know it is. I just hope that somewhere out there Charlie's eardrums are tingling, you know, and he'll just come rushing home to my own personal tingling heart and fingers and toes and entire body, what's patiently waiting for him, you know.
Oh, Loretta, I hope he doesn't disappear like George.
Mrs. Shumway, is that you in there?
Yes. Do you like my cover? Or is it my lid?
Oh, Swan, I can't believe it. You know, I could not even begin to find your sweet little homie self inside them jumbo eyelashes.
They're long lash, you know, for that extra flutter.
But please, Martha, you're giving me heart palpitations. We're here on business.
Hey, listen, y'all have a great time. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope you stay for my repeat show at 10, okay?
No, right, Miss Haggers.
See ya.
Well, you join me with your drink there? A little friendly drink?
No, thanks. I tell you why, frankly, if Charlie were in this general vicinity, which he very well still could be, he might come over the threshold in here, and I don't think he'd take too kindly to seeing us, you know, together. Being things, you know what they are now.
No, I know. I appreciate that, but I certainly don't mean you any harm, Loretta. In fact, what I was thinking about is I was hoping maybe I could help you get Charlie back.
How could you do that?
Well, sit down here a minute. Just a second. Sit down there.
Well, hell, Merle, I mean, I'll tell you something. I have picked my skinny brain plumb clean.
Well, I'll tell you, Loretta, for starters, I think you ought to get rid of that boy that's been hanging around you all the time.
No, wait a minute. You mean Jody?
Jody is the one I mean, Loretta. I've seen the way he's been staring at you, moony-eyed and frothing at the mouth. That's not good.
Merle Jeter, I'll tell you, what you're describing to me is some loony turkey with gum rot, and it happens to be my very dearest and closest, bluest friend in all the world. Listen, the only bind between Jody and me is the fact that both of us have an ever-dying love for Charlie Haggers. Now, you aren't the first person, however, that has mistaken our pure, clean friendship for pure, hot lust, you know. As a matter of fact, Charlie, when he left town, I mean, he did think that Jody and I'd run away together, but I swear to you, Merle, I have not 1 inch strayed away from my Charlie baby boy, and I just want him back here again.
Well, that's what I mean, Loretta. Now, this, you know, it may not be any of my business, but I don't think having that kid hanging around you all the time is a very good lure, and I think you ought to think about that one. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, meanwhile, tomorrow night I'm giving my final campaign speech on the TV, and I was hoping maybe you'd sing on the air for me.
What? You want me to sing?
On television.
Oh, wait, on the air on your TV rally? Are you
I'm talking
serious?
live television, thousands of people. And what I'm thinking about, Loretta, is that maybe Charlie will be one of them people watching, see?
Mom, it could be. Oh, thank you so much. I really... What am I doing?
What's the matter?
Listen here, Merle. If you're trying to beat down the path to my door again, I want you to know it is permanently closed, all right?
Oh, will you please stop that? My gosh, those days are over, okay? That's maybe that door is just stuck, huh? No, I'm just kidding there. What I mean is that I want you to be as happy as I am, Loretta. Now that my bachelor days are over.
What do you mean your bachelor days is over?
I'm getting married.
What?
Yeah, election eve, I'm going to announce my engagement to Wanda Rittenhouse.
Merle, you're getting married?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And what we were thinking and hoping is that maybe you'd sing at the wedding for us.
Oh, Merle, congratulations.
Well-
That is so nice. Of course, I'd love to sing for you at the wedding. Which do you want? Oh, Promise Me or Get Down and Boogie?
Okay, y'all. Before we get to this episode, like I said, I'd done some reading on marital rape. And to give you some context for the scene that we saw yesterday, apparently it wasn't until 1975 that the first state suggested that rape could happen between married individuals. And even today, it is still hard. I want to say that the Wikipedia that I read will talk about how the state's laws, all the states have laws now, starting in 1993, but that even still it is difficult to, I guess the laws aren't so clear. But in 1975, most places did not consider that a husband could have unwanted sex with a wife, or maybe that's not exactly right, but that in all states except for Nebraska in 1976, and I'm not sure what other states might have changed since 1975, but that it was considered that any sex in a marriage was considered not rape. So that gives you a little bit of context on what that scene was about, because it is not talked about much in the first scene of today's episode. But just to give you at least a little bit of context on where we are in 2021, I'm going to share a video that I looked up just before watching this episode, so that I'm still processing the emotions of that, and there are plenty of emotions to process in this episode. But let me please share this video that I picked up about a woman who just last year in 2020 was telling her story. And yeah, I gotta say, this is all stuff that's new to me. So I want to say that that scene from yesterday's episode might have existed as a way to open up this conversation, because I did not know that this was the case in 1976. And maybe this was a way to get people to think about something that was really wrong. And there's still a way to go. If you look up the phrase marital rape on YouTube, there's just a lot of argument about it. And I'm not going to look through every single video on that, but wow. So this episode opens up the next day, and Tom is in a good mood. Tom is in a really good mood. He doesn't care about getting kneed the night before by Mary. That's not on his mind. And this scene is about keeping up with the Joneses, which is, I think, the arc for Tom and Mary in season 2, or especially Tom. Like, Tom is a rising person in the city, a rising man. You know, it's 1970, so. And what is really hard for me is the anger, because Mary hasn't kept up. And I don't expect that she would. And if there were a better context, right? Like if she had time to consider, or if Tom had thought about how Mary might feel, it wouldn't have gotten to this, the fight between them, because Mary just wants to please Tom. And she even asks if he'll go back to the Letterman jacket and the baseball cap. He thinks no. We, in the comments, someone had mentioned, I don't remember whom, his new look is a sign of maturity. And now that I'm seeing this scene, it's not really. It's about him moving up. And now it looks like the pressure in their relationship has nothing to do with... Well, the pressure in the relationship has shifted to the change in Tom and Mary still being the same woman. And sadly, that's not a good look for them. And I think that Mary could work on it. She could make some changes. But this is not the way to do it. And then we confirm again that it is Christmas, and I hadn't mentioned it the last time we saw the Gimbels, but they have a tree in their house. And here we are with Martha baking Christmas cookies, and it's December 9th in the real world, in 1976 at least. I figure it's pretty close to Christmas when it comes to this show, because now we're finally getting Kathy bringing home presents, and that's sweet because Kathy's lonely, but now it opens up another conversation, and Martha still considers this adoption as selling her baby. And then the second one to be, well, that's something she hasn't even begun to process yet. But as I mentioned earlier, I can't say about the ethics about adoption and whether a mother should get some compensation. I feel like, some of me feels like that's, yeah, I think that would be okay. That it's not selling a baby. That is being paid for the time that you're doing something. And ethically, we're quite in a different place than we were in the 1970s with surrogate motherhood being on the table. Like in the 1970s, that wasn't a thought. There was no such thing as a surrogate mother in the 1970s. But Martha, of course, since that's not the case, Martha doesn't see it that way, or the pregnancy and the adoption. You know, maybe the ethics of surrogacy are again, because they weren't even a thought in American life, that's not how Kathy is thinking about it. But she is a surrogate. And Martha and Kathy are doing their best. But Martha now has to do a job. And I think good for her that she's doing a job. We'll talk about that more in a moment. And then another really rough scene with the Gimbels. Patty doing laundry again, and Garth showing up surprisingly in the middle of the day. He discovers that Garth is having some nighttime incontinence. And Patty finally has to come clean about it. Garth's rage is escalated. And it escalates and escalates and ends with a threat. And if I were to paraphrase, because I can't remember the exact phrasing that he said, but that if I'm gonna go, then you're gonna go too. And if anything at all was potentially good in that moment, it was seeing a light of resolve in Patty's eyes after that. Now, I don't know what that means, but I'm hoping that she's coming to something that is better than this. If she's not willing to leave him, then I don't know what's going to happen. I don't expect that Garth will go to any kind of couples counseling. And based on last season, we know exactly what kind of counseling is available in Fernwood, and that anything available would be awful. But yeah, that was really painful. Then we get a little bit of a breather. We cut back to the Capri Lounge, and Loretta is singing her Ballad of a Prom Queen, and we get to see HB and Martha in her new getup. You know, typically when someone is undercover, like Martha is in this case, and I think it might be a bit dangerous what Martha's doing for a completely untrained woman to be undercover. Typically when someone's undercover, they don't hang around with a detective. Tell me what's going on there. But I think it's more like, okay, let's have a cute date with HB and Martha, and also let's see Martha in some silly clothes, and it was fun to watch. And then we have a dissolve cut. I don't know what the stripy dissolve edit looks like, or I don't know what it's named. I guess I could look it up on this. I'm not gonna. To Loretta and Merle. Merle's thought about involving Loretta in the campaign, using that as a way to find Charlie again, or to reach Charlie out in the world. And for all we know, he is dancing with wolves in the hills somewhere. Loretta is rightly setting a boundary between her and Merle. The thought of reaching out to Charlie is tempting. Even though Merle is getting married, we can still see some lust in him for Loretta. Even though he says he's not into it. It looks like he had a glimmer of thinking he was into it. But yeah, Loretta is thrilled to be singing at the wedding. As Merle and Wanda's marriage is leaving room for him to do the things that he wants to do, you know, they've got sort of an open marriage relationship agreement, a one-sided one. Well, Loretta's thrilled that he's getting married because maybe that means that he's off her back, but given that open marriage agreement, I don't know that he is exactly, even if he says so, because we know he's said things that he doesn't mean. So, everyone, that is so much for me to process, and I'm going to need your help processing. Put some thoughts down in the comments so that we can talk about this, because I don't know how else we do this. Thank you again for watching. Thank you so much for processing the information with me. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.